Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Petrol scarcity spreads to Lagos, Oyo, Ondo, Osun, Edo, and others. How banks plan to meet recapitalization conditions. Danish firm Maersk to invest $600 million in Apapa port. 120 vehicles burned in Rivers tanker fire. Shareholders OK Zenith Bank hold co-structure transition. PDP wins all 33 council seats in Oyo. How port single window policy will boost economy. Electricity crisis, Lagos, Edo, Oyo await NERC's nod. Bandit terrorists killed 90 policemen in 1 year. Okay, which story I'm starting with?
I have the sad story. This article is holistic on how our security officers, sometimes pay the ultimate price in line of duty. Although the headline says 90 police officers killed in line of duty by gunmen, so it takes an inventory from March 2023 to March 2024, the amount of officers killed. One very sad incident is the DPO of Bako Agbanshi Odumede community in Rivers State, who was not just killed, mutilated, and buried. His body was exhumed and properly buried by the police force. And they continue to account for each officer. Then they have the graph in the paper in that same article of how 65 police officers, 2 correctional service officers from the prisons, 81 soldiers, 2 NDLE officers, NSCDC officers, 5 of them, Federal Road Safety officers, have all at one point or the other in that period of time been killed in the line of duty by gunmen. So it's important that I say our comedians, when they sit, they make jokes of the Nigerian police officers as if,
really sad.
Talking about one arm of one angle of society that is not a member of us. It's proper to
together.
See that, families lose sometimes their breadwinners because of, our
sacrifices
sacrifices that they make. And we take it
painful.
seriously. I would like that people read the article.
Yeah, so they said more details are gathered at the weekend on how banks plan to achieve the minimum capital requirements ahead of tomorrow's deadline for banks to submit their implementation strategies for the recapitalization to the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's CBN. They said multiple insiders had to confirm to the nation yesterday that Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks have concluded the strategic outlines that will serve as a roadmap for the 2-year recapitalization plan. Said many of the banks are expected to submit their final strategies between today and tomorrow, although some are lobbying, for an extension of the deadline. They said outlines of the strategic plans by the bank show that the first set offers under the current dispensation may hit the markets in the early third quarter, with a slight cluster of offers expected in the last 4 months of the year. And according to the plans, they said the banks may have to raise more than 7 trillion in multiple offerings to existing shareholders, general investing, public, private high net worth individual and institutional investors, and foreign strategic investors. Now, under the recapitalization plan, banks are required to submit a step-by-step activities, transactional details, instruments, and other options for their recapitalization to the Apex Bank, which is not later than tomorrow. So we are hoping to see how this goes and how many banks will have at the end of the day. Yeah.
So I was taking the story. I'd like to take the story about the Danish firm. The president's desire to bring in foreign investors into Nigeria has yielded a positive result yesterday because Maersk has provided a $600 million investment into the Apapa ports. I know this will be good news for everyone who does import and export, especially through the Apapa ports, because they intend to modernize and expand the infrastructure. One of the things they also intend to achieve is to create a single window. This is a single window project. It would enhance trade, easing import and export out of Nigeria. They said they also want to improve transparency within the ports and reduce corruption. As long as they're Nigerians, they need to change the mindset of the Nigerians before expecting reduction much in corruption. However, I love what the president said. He said, a bet on Nigeria is a winning bet. It is also a bet that rewards beyond what is obtainable elsewhere, and said that he appreciates the contribution of Denmark and Maersk into Nigeria. And Maersk also replied in saying that they've always believed in Nigeria, they've done business with Nigeria, they've invested over $2 billion into Nigerian ports and other activities around that area. And I'm expecting that this would yield Nigerians, we would not by ourselves limit the potential of this investment by our own corrupt practices. So thumbs up to the renewed hope agenda. The president was assuring that this is the beginning of many more investments, and they would ensure they protect the interest of investors by creating following the principle of willing buyer, willing seller.
Okay. This is a new term now, willing buyer.
Willing buyer, I've heard it a few times.
Quite a few times now. Oyo State Commissioner for Information, Prince Dotun Oyelade, has said the outstanding performance of Governor Seyi Makinde in the last 5 years was a major reason why PDP won all the 33 local government seats in the elections. According to him, he was speaking shortly after the chairman of Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, Are Isiaka Olagunju, announced the final result of the elections yesterday. In Gombe, also the APC won the chairmanship seat in 11 local governments and all the councillorship seats in the election held last weekend. So he described the Oyo Council election as one-sided. The commissioner equally attributed the result to the quality of candidates which the ruling party represented. Moving on quickly now to the Punch. Petrol scarcity, fuel crisis worsens as depots divert PMS to Abuja. Removing fuel subsidy saved Nigeria from bankruptcy, says Tinubu. Naira rebounds at 1,275 Naira to the dollar at parallel market. Adenuga at 71, jack of all trades, master of all. Rivers explosion, FRSC blames drivers as president governors mourn victims. Police launch probe as government kill Aiyedatiwa's campaign coordinator. Abiodun orders residents evacuation after Ogun gas explosion. And man accused of cement theft jumps into Lagos Lagoon and dies. Jesus. Which story?
The Aiyedatiwa story is such a sad story. Just following the primaries election in Ondo State has resulted in the, according to the speculation, is that it resulted in the death of a major coordinator, campaign coordinator, Mr. Alaba Abi. He was shot, he was murdered in front of his house around Saturday night. He said assassination took place in front of his house. The police public relations officer, Mrs. Fumilayo Odulami, confirmed the incident, said that they are aware of it, they're already carrying out investigations, and that it's such a sad experience. He was in charge of Ward 10, and is popularly known as Excel. He's from Akoko, southwest area of the states, and this is just a few days after the primaries election took place. It does not portend anything positive for the Ondo State elections. Whatever is happening within the political scheme, we must be willing to let, you lose some, you win some, and let democracy take its due course. If this has already happened, I'm worried about what will happen in the election itself. If you're already murdering somebody.
Okay, let's take one more story before we're going to break.
The federal safety. So the sector commander, the Rivers State Command sector commander of the federal road safety, Chris Kuje, has said that preliminary investigation has shown that 2 truck drivers were doing power for the fittest, which led to the fire that killed some commuters. About 5 people confirmed dead, over 70 in the hospital. The 70 cars burnt and several people injured. According to them, these 2 drivers were driving along the east-west road in Rivers State, and they were struggling for space. There was a collision, and then the one carrying the fuel tanker started leaking for spreading into the street, which eventually led to a full explosion and cost lives on that road. It's important that, the tanker drivers particularly adhere to the training. So there's no need for a tanker driver. You're on your own lane as a tanker driver. You're carrying inflammables. Although every other driver should behave themselves, but your standard of care is even higher. You should be, you're on your own lane, from destination to destination. You had no business struggling, knowing that you could cost lives. But see what, and we don't have accidental homicide enforcement strongly here, if not.
All right, let's go on a short break now. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.